federal, state, and institutional. I look at curriculum, I look at teachers, I look at state of infrastructure, and I look at curriculum delivery. So, brief historical overview. That has been narrated by our president. And I'll just go on to look at policy that has also been narrated, and I'll go on to the curriculum, computer studies curriculum. As we speak today, we have the curriculum at different levels. At the lower basic education, that's our kids in primary 1 to 3. Those are some of the selected concepts that they are to learn. History of computers, hardware, and all of that. Quite nice for little kids. Then, at the middle basic, primary 4, 5, 6, that's what they're expected to learn. About input devices, types of memory, that's the PhD man, those are people, that's the one. Memories and all of that. And the upper basic, those are the contexts that you it should be the expected. You can look at the last column for those who can see it. I'm going to make a mention of a couple of them. What teacher educators, we are Computer Educators Association of Nigeria, what we should be learning, what the faculty of vocational education here should be teaching our students, which I'm sure you are doing, which you maybe you are not. If you look at, I'm not too sure whether, let's say, basic computer programming, models, modeling and simulation. Let's see now. There's something proposed to the National Universities Commission should be the revised curriculum for our graduate studies, those graduate studies that be dealing with computer studies. Those are the topics that they were expected to learn. Now, let's move now from policy to practice. Let's look at the state of facilities. In 2010, we conducted a national survey of for the primary level, the public schools, the percentage is at least one PC, just one PC, whether it's working or not. In most cases, it's not working. One PC in the school, about 2.6%, and then for the secondary, it's higher. But for the private schools, for all the data that you have there, there's better performance. Percentage is at least 10 functioning PCs, and the percentage of PCs in active use for teaching, for learning, and school management. So you have all of this there. So let's look at some other variables that we gather data on. Percentage of schools with 24-hour power supply to ICT facilities. I'm sure you UNN, do you have it? Okay, fine. So the primary is 0 there, secondary about 0.1, and the percentage of schools with 24-hour internet service. Did you see 100% there? What are you seeing there? 0 all the way down. So that's the state. Now, that's for 2010. We now did some more in-depth study in 2015, and these are our zonal coordinators. I've tried to position them geopolitically. On the right, Professor Baza is from University of Maiduguri. She coordinated our data collection for the Northeast. The left side is Professor Madawaki, who former commissioner for education in Sokoto. She coordinated our data there. The man in the middle coordinated our North Central zonal data. That's Professor Zoidi. Professor Zoidi is the really past vice chancellor of University of Ilorin, and he was the president of the Association of African Universities. On the bottom right, he coordinated our data collection for South-South, Southeast. That is Professor Nimi Briggs. Professor Nimi Briggs, you know him? No? Yes? Professor Nimi Briggs is the really past vice chancellor of University of Port Harcourt. And he's a great person there. So they collected data for us. And what did we find? Now let's look at the, I've extracted some of these, the principal's ICT knowledge. The leader of the school, a principal or head teacher or vice chancellor, if the person, I'm sure that, where's the, madam, I'm sure your ICT knowledge is up there, very good. Your ICT practice. So, your ICT skills. So we try to find out what is ICT knowledge? How much of it do they know themselves? The principals, the teachers, and then the students. And what about their competence? Not just doing it, competence in the use of an ICT device for administration, for teaching, for learning, even for communication, email, and all of that. So you can see that in none of the zones, these are states representing some of the zones, in none of the zones you will get any performance up to the 50% level. Lagos will appear to be the best there with 42 in terms of teacher principal knowledge. And if you look at Anambra, Rivers State is next, followed by Anambra, followed by Borno. Sokoto and Borno are not doing as well as what we had for this. And Rivers coming quite next with that, and that's what we have by way of data that 2015. What about the students? As you can see, the graphs are climbing up higher up for the students in terms of the ICT knowledge not going as well. So, what are the pedagogic implications? Now, I'm going to give you the Lagos State case study. The Lagos State government has been investing a lot in computer education, especially in making available facilities for teaching. So you get every year the federal government procuring and distributing computers to schools, training teachers. There's a project called the co-project for training teachers, building their capacity in the use of computers, special training for computer studies teachers. So when we found out to be true, we then found also that, contrary to what you'd expect, Lagos State students were not doing as well in the senior school certificate exam. We thought that with that kind of technology, teachers should harness the power of technology to improve on the performance in the senior school certificate examination. So finally, Lagos State was maybe like about 3rd, 4th, 5th in the number of the SSC results. So we wrote a proposal to government of Lagos State and said, look, let us leverage on what we are investing, and let's see whether there can be, if you like, a pedagogical implication in terms of improvement. So we set up a project called the Lagos State Government Lagos State University e-learning project. And we had two phases. Phase one was just a survey of the e-learning readiness. For sure, we knew that Lagos State had been invested, but we want yes, over 70% of the schools, public schools in Lagos State, are well served with computers. The teachers, in terms of their knowledge, fair to find. The principals also in that category. But let me tell you one very interesting thing that we found. Almost like 70% of the senior school certificate class SS students have mobile devices that they use for Facebook. They are smart devices. So when we conducted our survey, those of our research group that went out found that even primary school kids in Lagos State with their handheld devices that can download video were using it mostly for pornographic use. So they said, okay, fine. If they love it so much, then let's take education to them on their handheld devices. So we now went on to the second phase of this study. What did we do? It was an experiment, a very interesting experiment. In our survey, that first set, in the survey phase of the study, we asked the students in 6 subjects that were selected. The 6 subjects are English, Maths, Physics, Chemistry, Biology, and Commerce. We asked that you find difficult to teach your students, to have a harvest of these topics for the students, and then we rank ordered the topics, and we creamed up the top 12 topics that students found difficult to learn in these subjects. We now compare with the subjects, topics that teachers find difficult to teach. We find a great deal of congruence. So finally we identified 12 of those. And then what did we do? We gathered the experts. We wrote wonderful lessons on these 12 topics. So you can see for English, those are the 12 topics there. For maths, for biology, for chemistry, for commerce, and for physics. So what then did we do after developing, these lessons? We then deliver the lessons to the students on their handheld devices. We did three things. We developed an app that will deliver the lessons on their mobile devices, their handsets. Because most of them will go do Facebook, do WhatsApp, do all of them. So they have internet access. So long as they have internet access, they can get into the delivery platform. So we had that there. The second is that all of them had Facebook account based on the survey that we did. So we created our Facebook page and asked them to like it. So they all liked, or most of them liked our Facebook page. And so we're delivering. Let me just take walking through an example. Let's take a biology lesson in a difficult topic. So a biology lesson will be delivered on their handheld device, and then it will also be on their Facebook. So you just get some prompt, there's something there on Facebook, and then you get a short description of the topic we're teaching them on the Facebook. And then if you just click, there's a link that you click that will now take them to the full lesson. Take a Monday, the student gets to the mobile device platform, reads the lesson, does the assignment. We're all standing by. We're almost like about 100 in the 6 groups, because there are teachers to quickly mark and give assignment and then give feedback to the students. So they get their feedback and all of that. We ran this experiment from January to August of this year, and I'll tell you what happened. The third delivery is daily SMS. So I will ask the subject coordinators every day for the lesson that you have mounted, please send me a 3-page domain, after 160 characters a page, 3-page summary for the lesson. So I will get this and I will broadcast it to all the students. So every day, just see this person coming as a student, and then you find that it's a biology lesson, gives you a summary of it, and it's very interesting thing. Tomorrow it is chemistry. You get an SMS. The other day it is so for 6 days in the week you get an SMS for each of the topics. The following, when the results came out, over 70% of those that participated in our study earned 250 and above. Over 70% of them. And someone learned something that we did show that they had improved ICT skills, and they were more productive in the use of Facebook, because Facebook is just to chat and enjoy themselves, but they now use Facebook more importantly. Quickly, I said, Mr. Vice, don't go there at all. We are going to face Facebook. We are going to face them with their lessons in Facebook, and we did that in the start. And the interesting thing also is that parents kept writing to me, kept praising us, kept all of this. We've kept it long, and we have published 3 international journals. Ours is not theory. Ours is not saying I go to do this and over nothing. Ours is really practical. It's hands-on. So still of pedagogic implication. Over the last 15 years. I've been engaged in prayer. I now teach masters and PhDs. There is no master student of mine in the computer science education program in LASU that will not do these 3 things. First, you must develop a software which will validate for teaching a difficult concept in your subject, either computer studies, or biology, or chemistry, or English, or whatever. You've got to develop a software. So if you go to my office, all the master's projects almost like the same, because they are the same, but they are not the same. They are the same in the sense that you see development and validation of they put the software name that they have developed themselves for teaching, and they put the topic there, ecology, logic gate, ionic reaction. Actually, my first PhD student was in 2011. My first PhD student in computer science education is Dr. Akedoju, was 2011. And he developed a software for teaching ionic reaction. I mean, anybody, what I'll tell that person is, if you work yourself through that software, yeah, you will find that ionic equation, redox reaction, are a breeze, to learn. So after developing the software, you must test the software through an experiment, and then you collect quantitative and qualitative data. Most of our researchers these days, what do? You just go collect some quantitative data. They say they're doing ANOVA, ANCOVA, all of that. Fine. My dear students, my dear colleagues, the world of research is moving beyond just quantification. You embed qualitative alongside with you work with qualitative and quantitative. It's called mixed methods. So none of my students will do. Write up an article and say I'm doing ANOVA, only that one. And send to. There are so many roadside journals, I tell you. So many. And I tell you the courses I still teach in LASU. I teach advances in microprocessors, basic computer engineering, software engineering, operating systems, development of mobile apps. That's very important for me. Advances in computer education, advanced statistics, advanced research methods. And I don't miss one single class. That's the present thing you wish to know. I don't miss one class. So nobody can report me to my head of department that I missed the class. You wonder how I don't miss the class. I tell you how I don't miss the class. Every day, you see, all my students meet with me minimum, not minimum now, 2 hours every day. Either we meet on site or we meet virtually. And I have my Illuminate class. My Illuminate class is a facility where I run it between 10, anywhere I'm in the world. By God's grace, I move around a lot. But anywhere I'm in the world, I run my class. I have, let's see now, this year I have like 15 masters. I have 8 PhDs that are working with me. And I don't, without fail, I carry out my lecture assignments. So my Illuminate class, you come to class, we see ourselves, but you're going to have internet access. And how much internet access for them? It's just about 1,200, 1,500, maximum maybe 3,000 a month for them to subscribe to the internet, which they will use for my lessons and other things. So 10 p.m. we are all online. I need to invite you to come and look at us. Very nice. 25 of us were there. We see ourselves. We run it. It's not like Skype. It's different from Skype. It's like a regular class. And I deliver my lectures. They respond. They deliver their own program. They present, make their own presentations. It's just like a regular class for about 2 hours. And also, all my lessons, any lesson I present, I have a video version which I put online. As I speak, I have 8 of my video lessons on these topics. 8 video lessons. Before there is a tool, it's called analysis of moment systems. It's a high-end statistic which I decided to present and make it as elementary as possible. After I uploaded that video, let's see, I think the 3rd day of uploading that video, I had 14,000 visitors to that site. Peter Okebukola. We just put Peter Okebukola and any statistic that you are confused about, multivariate analysis of variance, analysis of covariance, as simple as doing Kohlberg's alpha reliability, just put my name and Google it, and you find a video lesson that will be like teaching this cosmos theory. I would like to encourage many of our colleagues, to do that, because we will soon live the same. I told them I'm 65. The retirement age in last week is 65, so I'm going to retire in a few months. And I think that it is helpful for us to leave that legacy. Let's leave it behind for others to follow. I know that it's difficult for people to do because of ability to deploy such facilities, but we can also learn as we go along. So as we prepare our students for tomorrow, test of pedagogy, we should recognize that analog has yielded to digital, digital is now yielding to connected, and then we have the ubiquitous, which are engaging with virtual reality, wearable computers, visual paper, semantic web. These are the things of the future. So 21st century skills, we're talking about pedagogy, application. These are skills that we must continue to encourage and develop in our students. I'm sure you are familiar with these skills, which time does not permit me to. So let me make some quick recommendations for CM and for just a minute. You can stop and in Delhi. It's called coding. I spent 3 weeks there. When the first time I appeared there, I saw a number of Nigerian graduates, some postgraduates and all that. I said, what are you doing here? Even when I was the Secretary National University Commission, I said, no, I'm just learning a few more things. When I go the following year, what I've learned the previous year, just like 1 million years old. So things are coming on quite new. And what I try to do, whatever I learn, I now share this with my students. Like Professor Zewi said, my background is science education, but I've now moved fairly well into computer science education. I have all the knowledge, all the skills that I get, not on account of my sitting to be reading the books, but on account of my exposure to practice. But I tell you something, it is not cheap. And nobody is going to give you the money. It's just the bug that has beaten me. It's just the interest. I recall that in 1985, yes, 1985, we just started last year there, 84, and our computer center, a huge place, had a very big machine. And I went to Australia for a conference with Professor Baja and others. When I was coming back, all the other people bought all manner of things. I just came back with my first PC, an Amstrad. When I got back, my children said, oh, Daddy, what did you bring? I said, this one. He said, what is this one? I said, you know what it is. They were very angry with me. My wife was very angry with me. That, why did you buy me this dress? Why did you buy me this? I said, I don't get money again. My mind don't finish on this machine. I had a 20 meg hard drive in there. 20 meg. That's all that the entire computer center in the whole of Glasgow had, 20 meg. We started with rather simple programs in DOS. And then we went on. Anytime I go out, you need to come to my house, just full of all manner of computers, all manner of IT devices. And when I go for training in India, nobody pays for my travel. Nobody pays for my tuition. I do that myself. But I can see it has some advantage. And I think that we also adopt that. So capacity building for teachers and student members, what are we going to build capacity on? I think we could build capacity on innovative and contemporary techniques. Contemporary is a word I like to underline here. Techniques are changing. What I used to teach my PhD students in computer science education so 5 years ago are quite different from what I'm teaching now. And what I tell the Senate of the university is this. When the students come, because the master's program in computer science education is like 18 months. So I told my head of department, I told the Senate that look, I'm not going to be part of this 18-month thing. Because these students come in very, very raw. And for me, until I satisfy myself that yes, they have acquired the knowledge, they have acquired the skills that can say, okay, where do you graduate from? Graduate from Lagos State University. Who was your whatever? Peter Okola. But I don't want to be part of any fraud that you will then get a PhD person A computer science education that will tell me that he has 70 RAM in his machine. Very shameful. Yeah. So the students they stay 2.5 years. 2.5 years. And what I do is I send them to the industry, Xinos computers, Tomato computers. They've got to go there and spend 3 months and learn. I take them to the computer village in Ikeja. They are going to go there and spend 2 months to learn. I give them the very best in terms of knowledge and skills based on what I have. And at the end of the day, they will say, yes, they are now well prepared. But what we have in many other places, they just all those places are good, just theory, and then they just go out there. Oh, I have a BSc Computer Science Education, I have a Master's in Computer Science Education, I have a PhD in Computer Science Education, worth nothing. I think we must continue to rethink the way we deliver these things. The provision of affordable and regular internet service, that's for government and all those who are supporting the system. Our provision of up-to-date facilities for teaching and learning. These are some of the recommendations. Just before I go, let me make some suggestions for CN. For CN, I believe that you should continue and applaud it to organize your annual conferences. Dr. Bezima, there. Yeah, please continue organizing your annual conference. But you see, when I came here, when I was to book my time for UNN, I said, okay, I give the keynote address, but let me listen to some presentations from the people. And then tomorrow early morning, I can take a flight to Abuja. When I look at the program, I said that only today, opening ceremony at AGM. What kind of rubbish is that? That's not common. You cannot run a conference, a national conference like this, and just have opening ceremony and everybody drink tea and you go away. You just must. AGM is usually the last day. AGM is towards the close of the conference. So, I think that rather than come here, I've seen the papers, very exciting papers, nice papers. The impact of gender divide, pragmatic approach, all of this, all of that. So what I think this association should be doing is to continue to build capacities of your membership. Run workshops. In fact, I thought I was just waiting. I wanted to, if I had more time, and God will keep me till next year and beyond. Your next conference, I'm going to run a full one-day workshop for you all. So what you do is not just come here and take a presentation and just go away, just theory. You must embed in work. Education is not history. This is practice, hands-on. And I think we need to do that. And I think we could set up an online newsletter. Which is almost nothing. So it's not also anything. There's software that can easily just just put all the information there and broadcast it all over the world. And I think if you expand the competition, I'm so delighted that we have had some nice competition yesterday. But I think if you expand your competition nationally, but this organization, this association is young, which is nice. So as you grow, you should grow nationally. You should let your leadership, the executive, spread all over Nigeria, not just limited to UNN. Spread your wings, Sian, and fly higher. So, if you think you should do national, I think I heard that you had some some ICTs also partner with the big prizes. I think you should also explore more. There are, if you talk to Xinos, my friend, you'll say, a great man. He will support your association. Let me force myself on you. I want to be somebody on the side who you can call on to support you as you grow. What I like to force myself, because I believe in you, I believe in your association. And what we did in STAN was STAN, the Science Teachers Association of Nigeria. Why that association and mommy here, which is the STAN, was treasurer there. What we did is that Founding Fathers of STAR was to write books. Nigerian Degree Science Project in those days. We wrote books, biology, chemistry, physics, and all the subjects that we deliver in secondary schools. So we have computer studies, basic, post-basic, and all of that. I'd like to encourage you, President of CIAN, Professor Nina Ubesi, and your executive, take this conference, get some of your membership, and write books for the primary level of computer studies. Write books first. If you are looking for money, that's where you are going to get the money. So that's what I suggested, and I'd like to propose that to you. So just before I go, there's a simple logic that I presented here. You know, the future of Nigeria, the future of Nigeria's knowledge economy rests with ICT development. Next premise. That's the premise. Next statement. Computer education is at the heart